Begin the bulletin in Tunisia, where its president has suspended parliament and dismissed Prime Minister Hichem Mechichi in a move condemned as an attack on democracy by his rivals, but which others greeted with celebration on the streets. In a television address, President Kais Saied said he would assume executive authority with the assistance of a new prime minister after violent protests broke out in several Tunisian cities over the government's handling of COVID-19 pandemic and the economy. He also suspended the immunity of members of the parliament, insisting his actions were in line with the constitution. The statement followed an emergency meeting at his palace after thousands of Tunisians marched in several cities, with much of them in anger, and the anger was focused on the ANIL party, the biggest in the parliament. Tunisia's revolution in 2011 is often held up as the sole success of the Arab Spring revolts across the region, but it has not led to stability economically or politically.
The first decision is to freeze all the powers of the parliament. The constitution does not allow the parliament to be dissolved, but it does not stand in the way of freezing all its work. The second decision is to lift the immunity of all members of parliament, and for those of whom a case is related to, I will take over the public prosecution. The head of state assumes executive power with the help of a government headed by a head of government appointed by the President of the Republic. We have taken these decisions, and other decisions will be issued in the form of a decree as stipulated in the Constitution until social peace returns to Tunisia and until we save the state. That's for Tunisia.
And joining us is our Rise correspondent, ANIL SENGHERA, who has been monitoring developments in Tunisia, and he joins us right now. Now, ANIL, once again, in old acts, bring us up to speed with the latest in Tunisia.
Well, Aaron, as you can imagine, things are pretty fluid there ever since the president took the tumultuous decision to sack the prime minister and also suspend parliament. He says he can do this. It's legal under Article 80 of the Constitution. His opponents, including the Speaker of the Parliament, Speaker Ghannouchi, saying that this is illegal and it's a constitutional coup. And this is where we are having a standoff at the moment. Tunisia locked in a constitutional crisis following those really violent protests on the streets of various different cities, not just in the capital Tunis, but across many parts of Tunisia. Many people really angry at the political class for their handling of the COVID pandemic. Yesterday saw a record number of deaths, more than 200 in Tunisia, flailing economy, and all these sort of perfect storm of crises have resulted in what we've seen over the last 24 hours. And at the moment, there is an uneasy calm on the streets of Tunis in the capital. What we're seeing at the moment is that rival groups are currently outside Parliament demonstrating. You have the supporters of the President Saied, who are very happy with his decision to dissolve Parliament and sack the Prime Minister. They're on the streets very happy. On the other hand, you have supporters of the ANIL party, particularly those of the parliamentary Speaker Ghannouchi, who are also protesting outside Parliament. And there's been some unrest. They've been throwing stones at each other. But on the whole, police are trying to keep calm and nothing too violent so far on outside the Parliament. The Tunisian military has closed off the Parliament and has not allowed any members of the Parliament to enter. That includes the Parliament, the Speaker of the Parliament, Ghannouchi. He said that we consider the institutions to be still standing, and supporters of ANIL and the Tunisian people will defend the revolution. So it's clear that they're not going to take this lying down. We also understand that the offices of Al Jazeera in Tunis have been raided by civilian clothes policemen and have ordered all journalists to leave, and they've also ordered them to turn their phones off. So that is obviously a concern with freedom of press if the president has mobilized the police or the army even to step in and close the media. As I said, there are two groups who will be taking this news very differently. The president's supporters will be jubilant. They've been asking him to dissolve Parliament and sack the Prime Minister because they feel that the political class has really let them down, not only in the wake of the pandemic, but the last few years, ever since the revolution in 2011, which of course kicked off the Arab Spring. But there are many, those supporters of the Ennahda party and other Tunisians who I think will be pretty fearful about the next steps which will happen in Tunisia.
Okay, Anil, although you say it was a tumultuous decision, the fact that it seems to have been the right response to the violent protests, do you feel the people were surprised by the president's decision to remove the prime minister?
I think, Akene, there has been talk in Tunisia that the president has been threatening to do this. He's been locked in this political power struggle, not only with the prime minister, but also with the speaker of the parliament. So some people have predicted that the president might do this. And as I said, it comes off this political dispute with the prime minister and the speaker of the parliament because of the country grappling with the economic crisis, with the pandemic. 18,000 deaths in Tunisia, in a country with just over 12 million. That just shows that Tunisia has really been struck very, very hard by the pandemic. So the president has certainly tapped into this anger at the political class, and he's done something which many of his supporters will feel that he should have done a long time ago. But of course, constitutional experts will be checking to see whether this is actually illegal. And of course, the next steps will be really crucial in terms of seeing how this crisis unfolds.
All right, Anil, does the Constitution even allow the president to carry out such a move?
Well, and that's a very good question. The president is claiming that Article 80 gives the president exceptional powers for a limited period to suspend the parliament and sack the prime minister for a limited period. In this case, it's 30 days before it's reviewed by a constitutional court. The problem is, at the moment, there is no constitutional court set up to resolve these disputes. So we have this standoff. There will be people that would have hoped that the president could have handled this better. And in the wake of these violent protests, in a way of calming the situation, could have perhaps called for early parliamentary elections and avoided taking the nuclear option of suspending Article 80 of the Constitution. As I said, the Speaker of the Parliament, Ghannouchi, believes that this is illegal and that this is a constitutional coup. As I said, what's really concerning is those reports of the army or civilian close policemen raiding the offices of Al Jazeera. Critics of Ennahda say that Al Jazeera is sympathetic to the Ennahda party, but of course Al Jazeera is a reputable international news organization with offices all over the world, and of course that will be a concern if journalists have been. There's no reports of them being arrested, but it sounds as if the reports are accurate, it sounds as if their offices have been closed and journalists have been told to switch off their phones and switch off their laptops, which is obviously a very concerning development. So, as I said, the 2014 Constitution calls for a separate court to be set up to resolve disputes like this, but that's the problem. We don't have that constitutional court. And that is where we are in this sort of legal jeopardy. And I think the next few hours, few days are going to be absolutely crucial in terms of how this crisis ultimately gets resolved, if it does get resolved at all.
Indeed, Anil, as you said, if I heard you correctly, 12,000 deaths due to COVID in a country of almost 18 million. And what seems to be brewing or developing potential media blackout. amongst other social issues. How dangerous is the situation for Tunisia?
Well, Ken, it's very dangerous. Let me just clarify. I think I said 12. It's actually 18,000 deaths in a population of just 12 million, just to clarify what I said earlier. But yeah, to answer your question, I think that there is obviously going to be fear and uncertainty. Yes, this could be very dangerous. If nothing else, it sets a bad precedent. The president suspending parliament and dissolving, suspending parliament and sacking the prime minister. Remember, the military historically in Tunisia have been apolitical, and there will be fears that the Tunisian army, the fact that they're blocking parliament, not allowing the Ennahda party members inside, that the president is politicizing the army. And that is a concern, that the military could be politicized. And the fact that he's deployed the army into protecting these institutions or preventing people from entering these institutions is, of course, a concern, and it doesn't bode well for democracy. As I said, the big question is what happens now? Will the president consult with other parties and call for early parliamentary elections? If he doesn't, there is a fear that this will be seen as a presidential power grab and not a temporary bid to restore calm, but a presidential power grab. Of course, only time will tell.
All right, I want to say many thanks to you, ANIL SENGHERA, our correspondent in the UK.